Good afternoon. This is Module 3, and we are dealing with organization, one of the 6 traits of writing, but we're going to talk about how we can arrange all of your literacy skills under organization. Okay, first off, when you're dealing with reading, you have to think about organization, like cause and effect, for instance. You may want to teach that and transfer it to their writing. Teach it, show it through their reading, show them authentic text and how different authors arrange or organize. They will read different genres, nonfiction, fiction, and see how those are organized. And with nonfiction, you want to look at the text structure and how things are laid out, how you have headings and all those types of things, how they're organized. So you want to have them reading from authentic text, but then you can also have them organize their own writing. And there are several on the site. There are several examples of how you can do that. Step Up to Writing is what Escambia County is using now for organization of writing. I think I give you one slideshow of that as an example. With the reading this week, I have you look at text to self, text to text, text to world, those 3 first. For instance, in my book that I'm reading right now, Eleanor and Park, I can make a personal connection between Eleanor and myself, being a redhead, but also in the relationship that they have. I can compare it to relationships that I've had in the past. I mean, I've dated somebody that wasn't exactly who you would think I would date. So, you need to make those connections and really think about the relationship between those two in comparison to what you know in real life. And then text to text. I mean, there are plenty of stories out there that deal with relationships. You could look at, my students, one of their favorites was Twilight, and you can look at Bella, and now I can't remember the guy's name, Bella and fill in the blank, the relationship between those two. Edward, there we go. You can also look at just friendships. It doesn't have to be a love relationship, and you might talk about in terms of the essential questions, if you were dealing with relationships, you might talk about the difference between platonic and a love relationship and what kind of relationships are healthy and what kind are toxic. For instance, in text to text, if we looked at Twisted, there is Tyler Miller, who is in love with a girl named Bethany, and she's toxic. She's bad news. And so far, those would be very different. Those two young adults would be very different than Eleanor and Park, who are quite very much in love. They accept their faults. Both of them have faults. Poor little Eleanor is going through a rough time with her family. And, you really want to get your kids discussing. You've got to remember that discussion is the precursor to writing, okay? And in your chapter that you read, it talks about listening as a process. I mean, discussing, listening, and speaking are very important. These are precursors to writing, and you can have them summarize orally. You can have them think critically and discuss that. So I wanted you to pay attention to how you can weave those naturally into the reading and the writing. Also, for the reflections notebook this week, you're looking at predictions, inferencing, questioning, and the question matrix. I'm going to predict that Eleanor and Park are going to stay together. I don't know why I feel that way, but I feel like Eleanor is going to have some really strong issues with the stepfather, continue to have those. In fact, I think it's going to come to blows. I'm not sure, but you want to teach kids how you are predicting and why you think that. They've already had some issues with the parents and the mother not liking Eleanor, but they have continued to stay together. They have continued to persevere. So that's why I'm making that prediction. You want the students to back it up using text. The question matrix is one of the best activities for kids. I mean, I always tell my middle and high schoolers, are you going to go through life letting somebody else drive the vehicle? I don't think so. You know how those kids are. Middle and high schoolers like to do things themselves. They're very independent. So questioning is a very good skill to demonstrate to them. The new movie Divergent that's out, I've read the whole series, but a lot of that deals with not questioning authority. You can make connections between texts. You can even make it to the world. Currently there are a lot of things that have been going on that we've seen in the press about us as Americans not really paying attention to what's going on around us. So, as much as they can connect to other things, the better that it will be. But that question matrix, there's a grid, and I talked to you about this on another video, and it goes from lower level to higher level thinking. And you can put those on different colored cardstock, and you can give the lower ones to your kids that are struggling the most. You don't tell them that it's the lowest, but then you have higher level thinking. And if you put kids in fours, and what I usually did was a low, high, and then two mids, you'd be astounded at how much they can learn from each other. They can see how they are composing those higher level thinking questions. They are modeling for one another, and it's a wonderful activity. Okay, so those are the things that you'll be doing in the reflections notebook this week. I want you to come up with either one or two lessons. And what I mean by that is if you have one lesson that combines both reading and writing, which is what I would prefer, okay? Remember, you've got to get the most bang for the buck. Then you can do one lesson. Or if you want to separate them out, you can. But you've got to remember that the best way to handle language arts is to try to weave these things in and have your discussion and have your critical thinking, your listening and speaking, your reading and writing. Everything is woven together, which makes your life so much easier. Okay. I want you to continue reading your young adult book. It might be fiction or nonfiction. You might not finish it this term. That's okay. I want you to get the flavor of what's out there. Okay. Obviously, if you need a book, I have tons of them in my office, so don't hesitate to ask. Okay. I hope you have a great day.